Aloha and good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the HNN Digital Center, and we want to begin with some breaking news. For more on this, our Mahealani Richardson joins us with the latest on Red Hill. Mahea, what can you tell us?
Aloha, Dylan. Well, the Department of Defense has announced the creation of a new task force. It is the Navy Closure Task Force, which will solely be responsible for the removal of residual fuel from Red Hill and the closure of the Red Hill fuel facility. As you know, the defueling is happening right now. There's 104 million gallons of fuel in Red Hill, and so far, 89 million gallons has been removed. Now, this closure task force, again, will be responsible for the removal of the leftover fuel. And Dylan, if you can bring up a graphic, there's a lot of numbers to keep track of, and so we had to write everything down, and I wanted to show you Red Hill by the numbers. So as I mentioned, 104 million gallons of fuel in Red Hill. That is sitting 100 feet above Oahu's aquifer. Now, the Red Hill Task Force, which was a task force created after the fuel leaks in 2021, has so far removed 89 million gallons of fuel. 64,000 gallons of residual fuel would still be there, and that needs to be pumped out, or 64,000 gallons of residual fuel. Then 60,000 gallons would need to be pumped out by March. 4,000 gallons of fuel would be needed to be removed by destructive means. That's removing of pipelines, that's drilling. That would be done by the new task force. And then there's 28,000 gallons of sludge, Dylan, at the bottom of those tanks, and the new task force would be responsible for removing that sludge.
That is a lot of impressive numbers there showing that progress is being made. But Mahea, going back to today's announcement, tell us why this is so significant.
Well, this is significant because after the fuel leaks that were so concerning in 2021 that sickened thousands of people, there was this creation of the Joint Task Force that was solely responsible for the removal of the fuel. And now this new task force has come on board, and that'll be under the Navy Region Hawaii's commander, that's Rear Admiral Stephen Barnett. He'll be the leader of this new task force while remaining at Navy Region Hawaii. And so this new task force, again, is really important because it shows a transition. This is a major transition for the defueling of Red Hill and what's to be happening in the future in terms of remediation of the aquifer and removing that residual sludge and fuel.
Mm-hmm. I also understand you've been speaking with some people, including the Sierra Club. What are some of the reaction to today's announcement?
Yeah, they've been following this, and they said that Rear Admiral Barnett, we have to remember, was in charge when the PFAS spill happened. He is in charge of NAVFAC, and that the wastewater treatment plant also falls under NAVFAC. And so the Sierra Club said, to be fair, he inherited a mess, but we cannot have any failures with the sludge removal. The consequences of current contamination already bad enough. And Dylan, I also spoke with a woman. Her name is Rochelle Dietz, and she is part of a lawsuit against the U.S. government. She was sickened early in those days of 2021 because of those fuel leaks. And she said, quite frankly, she is still scared as this process happens. And she said that it's important to remember that Oahu is still at risk as long as there's any fuel or any sludge there.
Mm-hmm. One more question for you, Mahea. Let's take a look back at the defueling as a whole since it began. Has there been any major issues or other concerns that have arisen since this started?
Well, the Joint Task Force has said that there have been no major problems since the defueling has started. There was a leak of 1 gallon on the very first day. That was the only issue that happened. But up until now, we have not heard of any major problems. The people who have filed lawsuits in the Red Hill lawsuit have claimed that they still smell things, they still feel ill, and that they are seeing things in their water. And we have not been able to verify any of that. The Department of Health has consistently said that the water going to Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam is safe for drinking, and has continued to say that after the water was cleared after that contamination crisis in 2021.
A lot to keep track of in this ongoing Red Hill defueling. Our Mahealani Richardson breaking it down for us all. And we also want to give our viewers a heads up that coming up right after this is now, the commander of the Red Hill Joint Task Force will actually be on our H&N Spotlight. That will be happening right here in the H&N Digital Center, and it starts at 1 o'clock. And you can tune into our social medias to get involved in that conversation as well. If you have any questions for them, once again, that will be happening at 1 o'clock from this H&N Digital Center, airing on air and our digital platforms. Our Mahealani Richardson on the Red Hill Beat, we thank you so much for your insight on this. We want to go ahead and give you a breakdown of some other top stories around the state. A staff member at the Hawaii State Hospital is dead after police say he was stabbed by a former patient last night. It happened at a transitional living facility on state hospital grounds in Kaneohe. Officers arrived on scene around 5 p.m. Witnesses told HPD they heard an argument break out beforehand. Now, according to HPD, the 29-year-old victim was stabbed multiple times in different parts of his body while performing duties inside the residential unit. He was a member of the Hawaii State Hospital staff. The suspect is 25-year-old Tommy Kekoa Carvalho. According to a press release, Carvalho was discharged from the Hawaii State Hospital in August and was transitioning to the community through the state-operated specialized residential program.
All we're told from different people is that they just heard some type of argument or maybe a disagreement. I'm not too sure yet. We're still getting that information. I believe they know each other from the staff member working here, but I don't know the extent of the relationship.
Detectives continued their investigation throughout the night. They took pictures and gathered evidence where the suspect was said to be living. Court documents have also revealed new details into a murder in Nanakuli. Now, murder suspect Justin Akana was in court yesterday. He's charged in a deadly stabbing that took place last Friday. Newly released documents say he and another homeless man had been fighting over money and cigarettes before the stabbing. Based on witness accounts, police say 62-year-old Dennis Wilson confronted Akana, then punched and kicked him, and Akana allegedly responded by stabbing Wilson in the chest. Akana's bail is set at $1 million. He's due back in court tomorrow. Honolulu police say a woman in her 80s was struck and killed when she was attempting to cross the street in Liliha. She was hit while crossing School Street, and according to police, she was in a marked crosswalk. HPD says it all happened around 7:15 Monday morning. That's when she was hit by a 51-year-old man turning his truck onto Alaneo Street. He stayed at the scene, and investigators do not believe he was speeding or on drugs or alcohol. HPD is reminding everyone to drive alert, especially this holiday season.
Everybody's mind is elsewhere, focusing on Christmas gifts and attending festivities and whatnot. So just urging everybody to be diligent and alert when they're driving.
Now, the victim of this crash has not yet been publicly identified. We turn now to the latest in the deadly Maui wildfire disaster. Maui County officials have released the name of yet another victim. Charlene Rabong was 78 years old and lived in Lahaina. This brings the total estimated fatalities to 100. Of those killed, 99 family members of victims have been contacted. And more than 3 months after the wildfires, federal contractors are still working to clear debris from private properties. Insurance covers the whole thing, but many victims still have not registered. And Mark Carpenter says the alternative is expensive.
The Maui wildfires catastrophe destroyed close to 3,500 homes, and as cleanup operations continue in Lahaina and upcountry, County Council Vice Chair Yukile Sugimura tells us 900 property owners have signed right of entry forms to have the government remove debris from their property. She says most in her district, which includes Kula and Olinda, have signed up for the government-sponsored removal, as the alternate option of individual cleanup is a tall task.
The difficulty for individuals to be able to do it on your own, which a lot of people are anxious and they just want to do it, is that number one, you have to have a contractor that knows what they're doing. Number two, you're going to have to follow the same rules of safety and security and health.
Meaning debris packing needs to be done under specific regulations used by the Army Corps of Engineers to prevent toxic ash and dust from going airborne. There's also the issue of cost. Private removal comes with a high price.
They're at risk of having to pay for their own cleanup, which can cost $70,000. And that's concerning. I mean, these people are already facing hardship. And once we move past this phase, you know, it's going to be hard to go backwards.
Kuhio Lewis and the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement have spent months working directly with wildfire victims. He cites a number of hurdles in the cleanup registration shortage, including communication about resources available, possible distrust in government, and survivors still processing the trauma of the disaster.
I think it's a matter of navigating a very complex situation. They're trying to apply for rental assistance, they're trying to find housing, they're trying to do all of these things, and then being asked to sign papers for right of entry. So it's just getting caught up in the very complex recovery process.
Sugimura also understands the challenges involved and spent the weekend monitoring cleanup efforts in Kula. She encourages survivors to sign up as the professionals approach removal with the utmost care and attention to detail.
To some degree, you're going to have to trust that, you know, the decisions that are being made is for the best betterment of the entire community, as well as the property owner, you know, to remove the debris, but also for the safety of the neighbors.
For those interested in registering, we've included a link on our website. Mark Carpenter, Hawaii News Now.
A Maui man who survived the Lahaina disaster found his path to healing, and it led him to another town that was previously destroyed by fire. Jonathan Masaki has his story.
Like so many others in Lahaina, the August 8th fire has a tremendous effect on Garrett Feliciano's life.
I lost my job. I worked in Kaanapali, and we rely on tourism. And unfortunately, because of this tragedy, a lot of us lost our incomes.
Feliciano, a full-time employee at the Monkey Pod restaurant in Kaanapali, knows Lahaina very well.
I was a borderline Luna. I spent a lot of time learning a lot of traditions about Lahaina. You know, we're a small community. Everybody knows everybody.
The aftermath of the blaze had an immediate effect on him, and he observed all the destruction and devastation.
One of the toughest things for me is just driving through Lahaina at night and not seeing any of the lights on. It's a very surreal feeling. It breaks my heart, but we're going to get through this.
Garrett decided he needed to get out of town to regroup and get his mind straight. Based on the advice from a good friend, he found himself in a Northern California town that had seen its own share of death and destruction.
She thought it would be a good idea to come up here just to kind of interact with the people of Paradise so that I can kind of cast a vision and the future of what we can expect here back in Lahaina.
That friend is April Kelly. She and Garrett met in Lahaina when they both worked at Merriman's. April, too, has a heavy heart due to her ties to the Valley Isle, but she knew Paradise is where Garrett needed to be.
One of the biggest things that you can do when you're hurting is to help somebody else. That's going to help you in the healing process.
Having the ability to talk to people that have already been through this has just been so surreal and so helpful, because now I know what obstacles that lay ahead for our community, and hopefully we can help navigate that.
Garrett remains away from Hawaii, and for right now, he says he's taking it one day at a time.
I'm just going to kind of focus on healing. I'm going to focus on rebuilding my mindset and my body, and just really focus on being like as strong as I can possibly be, because when I go back, you know, I really want to make an impact and help our community.
Maui's road to recovery will be a long one, but with positive mana from those like Garrett, it's what is needed to keep Maui strong. In Paradise, California, Jonathan Masaki, Hawaii News Now.
In other news around Oahu, for the second time in 4 years, Kawaihaʻo Church has to restore headstones that were toppled over. We're told 19 grave markers were pushed down and some were broken off their foundation. HPD has opened an investigation. The church says the incident was caught on camera and the suspect appears to be a woman, but the video has not yet been released.
You know, we're saddened by it. You know, unfortunately, it takes superhuman strength to move those stones, so it's got to be, you know, probably chronic, someone who, you know, obviously substance abuse of some kind, because it really takes superhuman strength to do that. But
now, this is the second time something like this has happened. The first took place in 2019 when about 27 gravestones were toppled or damaged. Police have opened a second-degree criminal property damage and desecration case. On Hawaii Island, first responders are getting more rescue vehicles to help replenish their aging fleet. Among the additions, used ambulances from Honolulu for Hawaii County's reserves. 4 Honolulu EMS ambulances were prepared to head to the Big Island earlier this month. They're no longer part of the 21 frontline vehicles on Oahu. Hawaii County will use them as backups to their 16 ambulances on the road. Calls for service have gone up every year since the pandemic.
These are backup ambulances in case one of the frontline ones goes in for maintenance. They're for disasters if we need to staff extra ambulances.
Honolulu also sent 3 fire trucks to Hawaii County to help with their emergency response. In a statement, the county said they were grateful as the Honolulu equipment would help supplement their reserves. Hawaii County's mayor has extended the emergency rules for Waipio Valley Access Road. Access is limited to residents, permitted tour company operators, and cultural practitioners. Only 4-wheel drive vehicles are allowed on Waipio Valley Road, no convertibles and no horses either. The proclamation does not include an end date for the emergency rules. The county is doing a 3-year, $6 million project to make the road safer. Let's send you live outside now for a look at the city of Los Angeles. It's about a cool 78 degrees there. Coming up after this short break, our guy Hoggy will have your island weather forecast. Stay tuned.
We're dealing with this weak front, bringing in some scattered showers. Not a lot of rain, right? And the rain's going to start to back off as that front kind of eases up, especially going to be drier by 10 a.m. for the western end of the state at least. And then after that, we'll see a few windward and Malka showers. Not a lot of rain. However, starting on Sunday, a more vigorous front's going to move through, and then we'll see some scattered showers come in all the way through Monday morning, and then we'll have drier conditions after that. So we've got the first alert for today and tomorrow because of the strong and gusty winds and the red flag conditions today, right? So heads up on that. And then more normal, calmer weather coming in Thursday and Friday with those trade winds in control. This is the best weather on the planet right here. And then with that front coming in that we talked about, first of all, it's going to shift the winds. We got Kona winds going to be a little sticky on Saturday. And then those showers start to move in, especially between Sunday and Monday, mainly for those windward areas. And the front and the showers, very, very welcome considering how dry it is out there.
Thank you so much for that forecast. Let's go ahead and take a look at some news from the feeds. A new report shows inflation is easing, and that could be good news for some borrowers who are struggling with high interest rates. Christian Benavides reports.
It's getting cheaper to fill up as prices continue to drop. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular unleaded has dropped 25 cents in just the past month. Good news for commuters like Yanni Pfeifenberger.
I get gas like twice a week, so yeah, it affects me quite a bit.
Lower gas and energy prices helped push down overall inflation in October to 3.2%. Better than the 3.7% year-over-year increase in September, and a big drop from last year's high of 9.1%.
I think there is real relief coming to American households when it comes to prices of goods and of services.
Some of that relief is at the grocery store, where prices are up just 2.1%, close to historically normal levels. The October report does show rent up about 7%, but CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says it appears that could be improving.
Some of the more up-to-date measures of rent and of housing show a much bigger slowdown in those prices than we are seeing in this report.
Policymakers want to see inflation drop to just 2%, and experts say that could take some time. The Federal Reserve has been raising rates to slow the economy.
While I believe that the Fed is done raising rates, they are going to leave these interest rates a little bit longer than probably most people would like to hear.
It's not clear how long that will be, but some analysts forecast the Fed could start bringing them down in the spring. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Pompano Beach, Florida.
Well, if you're not a fan of self-checkout at the grocery store, you're not alone. And it's not just customers who don't like it. Some major companies are rethinking their use of the technology. Booths, a British supermarket chain, said it's removing self-checkout stations in all but 2 of its 28 stores. In the U.S., Walmart, Costco, Wegmans, and other chains have also revised their self-checkout strategies. Booth's managing director says customers have long complained that the machines are slow, unreliable, and impersonal. Customers also sometimes have difficulty identifying fruits and vegetables, and there are delays for products like alcohol, which require age verification. Other retailers have found self-checkout leads to higher merchandise losses from customer errors and shoplifting than having human cashiers. Now, earlier this morning on Sunrise, we shared with you a major concert announcement. Check out who will be performing at the Blaisdell.
Aloha, Hawaii. I cannot wait for us to be all together again. I miss you so much, and you know how much I love you. See you soon. Mahalo.
That's right. It is the one and only Miss Janet Jackson. She's coming back to Hawaii to perform 2 shows at the Blaisdell Arena on March 8th and 9th of next year. The icon will be performing over 35 of her hits as part of her Together Again tour. Tickets go on sale to the general public November 25th, but there is an online pre-sale exclusively for Hawaii residents. That opens this Saturday at 10 a.m. More information is up on rbpconcerts.com. And time for some good news. If your favorite holiday tradition is cuddling up with a blanket and watching some festive holiday movies, there might be a job for you. CableTV.com is looking for a chief of cheer to watch 25 movies in 25 days. The chosen candidate has to keep track of each flick and rank them based on nostalgia, heartwarming storytelling, and holiday cheer. For their work, the chief of cheer will get $2,500 plus a year's subscription to 7 streaming services. The best part? There's no list to stick to. The winner gets to pick their favorite holiday movie, whether that's a Hallmark rom-com, an animated classic, or an action thriller like Die Hard. CableTV.com is accepting applications on their website through December 1st. That's right, the holiday season is here. It always sneaks up on us every single year. I want to go ahead and give you some extra good news, some more good stories. Do you like Dr. Pepper? Well, what if it had actual peppers in it? That is the concept behind the brand's newest carbonated concoction, Dr. Pepper Hot Take. Now, it puts a fiery spin on the popular soda by adding spicy peppers. So that would be an interesting thing to drink. The limited edition item launched Wednesday. It's not available in stores and will only be around for a while. Now, if you want a bottle of Dr. Pepper Hot Take, you have to be a Pepper Perks Reward member, or you have to sign up, and you can log into the Pepper Perks and play, scratch and win for a chance to win a few prizes, including this drink. Interesting concept there. I probably will not be trying it. I don't really like super spicy things there. One more story for you. Some Prince memorabilia is going up for auction. More than 200 items belonging to Prince are being auctioned off by RR Auctions. They include some custom-made outfits, and just take a look at some of the other items in this collection there. The auction runs through Thursday. According to the auction house, the entire collection was assembled by a sole collector, a French businessman who 2 decades ago had initiated communications with individuals who worked closely with Prince due to his belief that Prince was not only a musical virtuoso, but also a fashion icon, and that he was. Let's take you live outside to Hilo. This is a rather gloomy and windy look here on this Tuesday afternoon.